Did you know that certain species of bamboo can grow up to 35 inches in just one day? That's almost an inch and a half per hour. Imagine turning your back on your garden for a day and suddenly discovering an entire bamboo forest. Many of us end up spending countless hours battling weeds, pests, and unruly plants simply because we made a few easily avoidable mistakes. And that's exactly why, in today's Don't Do This guide, we're tackling the most common errors that lead to extra garden maintenance. Because, let's face it, you started gardening to enjoy nature, not to spend all your free time fighting it. Before picking up a trowel, let's look at what we're working with. Understanding your garden's climate and soil is crucial, so you need to work with nature, not against it. Know your space? Is it sunny or shady? What about rainfall? What kind of soil do you have? A happy plant is a low-maintenance plant, so choose plants suited to your conditions. We've all been there, haven't we? That irresistible urge to cram just one more plant into the border. But resist, I urge you. Overcrowding is a surefire way to create more work for yourself in the long run. Think of it this way. Plants, just like us, need their space. When they're too close together, they start to compete for resources like sunlight, water, and nutrients. And just like us, when they're stressed, they become more susceptible to pests and diseases. So, what's the solution? Well, it all comes down to proper spacing. Always check the plant label or do a bit of research to find out the mature size of your plants, and then space them accordingly. It might look a bit sparse at first, but remember, you're playing the long game here. In no time at all, your plants will fill out and create a lush, healthy display. With proper spacing, you'll reduce the risk of pests and diseases, which means less work for you in the long run. Watering sounds simple, but many get it wrong. Overwatering can be as harmful as underwatering. The key is to water deeply, but infrequently. This encourages deeper, stronger roots. Research your plant's specific needs. Mulching might not be the most glamorous gardening task, but trust me, it's one of the most beneficial. It is like giving your garden a big, comforting hug. It's a layer of organic material such as bark chippings, compost, or straw that you spread over the surface of the soil. Mulch acts like a natural blanket, insulating the soil and helping to regulate its temperature. This means your plants are protected from extreme heat in the summer and frost in the winter. Mulch helps to retain moisture in the soil, which means less watering for you. And if that wasn't enough, it also suppresses weeds by preventing sunlight from reaching the soil. Simply apply a layer of mulch about 2 to 3 inches deep, around your plants, being careful not to pile it up against the stems. Remember, mulching is a simple yet incredibly effective way to reduce your workload in the garden, while also benefiting your plants. Companion planting is one of those age-old gardening techniques that stood the test of time, and for good reason. You see, just like humans, plants can have beneficial relationships with each other. By carefully choosing which plants to grow together, we can create a harmonious environment where they thrive. Some plants release chemicals into the soil that deter pests, while others attract beneficial insects that prey on those pests. By strategically planting these companions together, we can create a natural pest control system, reducing the need for chemical interventions. Certain plants can also improve the growth and flavor of their neighbors. For example, planting basil alongside tomatoes is a classic combination. Start by experimenting with a few pairings and see what works best for you and your garden. Companion planting is a fascinating and rewarding aspect of gardening that can help you create a healthier, more productive, and ultimately less labor-intensive garden. Now, let's talk about pruning, shall we? It's one of those garden tasks that often fills people with dread, but trust me, it needn't be a daunting chore. In fact, pruning is an essential part of maintaining healthy, productive, and attractive plants. Think of it as a haircut for your plants, helping them to look their best and perform at their peak. Regular pruning has a whole host of benefits. It encourages bushier growth, prevents diseases by improving air circulation, and removes dead or diseased wood, which can attract pests and harbor diseases. And of course, it keeps your plants looking tidy and under control. Always use sharp, clean pruning shears to make clean cuts and avoid leaving stubs, which can be an entry point for diseases. When pruning back to a branch or stem, cut just above a bud, which will encourage new growth. Pruning is not about hacking away at your plants willy-nilly. It's about making considered cuts that will benefit the plant in the long run. Ah, weeding, the bane of every gardener's life, isn't it? Those pesky invaders seem to pop up overnight, determined to wreak havoc on our carefully cultivated plots. But don't despair, there are ways to win the war against weeds, or at least keep them at bay. The key is to have a good weeding strategy in place. The best way to tackle weeds is to catch them early, when they're small and easy to remove. Regularly patrolling your garden and pulling up any weeds you see will save you a lot of time and effort in the long run. Mulching, as we discussed earlier, is a fantastic way to suppress weeds by preventing sunlight from reaching the soil. And if you're dealing with a particularly stubborn infestation, you can always resort to using a weed barrier fabric. There are organic weed killers available that can be an effective way to control particularly pernicious weeds. Just be sure to choose a product that's safe for your plants and the environment. Just like us, plants need a balanced diet to thrive. But just as eating too much of the wrong thing can be detrimental to our health, over-fertilizing, or using the wrong type of fertilizer can actually harm your plants. When we over-fertilize, we create an imbalance in the soil. The excess nutrients can damage plant roots, making them more susceptible to diseases. And ironically, over-fertilizing can actually make your plants less productive. They might put all their energy into growing lush foliage at the expense of flowers or fruit. Different plants have different nutrient requirements, so it's important to read the label and select a fertilizer that's specifically designed for your particular plants. When it comes to applying fertilizer, less is definitely more. It's always better to err on the side of caution and apply a little less than you think you need. A healthy soil, rich in organic matter, will provide your plants with most of the nutrients they need. It might seem obvious, but selecting plants that are well suited to your climate, soil type, and available space is crucial for creating a low-maintenance garden. There's no point fighting a losing battle by trying to grow plants that are simply not happy in your particular conditions. One of the biggest mistakes gardeners make is planting invasive species. These thugs can quickly take over a garden, crowding out other plants and creating a maintenance nightmare. Another common mistake is planting high-maintenance species. Instead, opt for low-maintenance varieties that are known for their resilience and ability to thrive with minimal intervention. Choosing the right plants for the right place is the key to creating a garden that brings you joy, not stress. Just like us, plants are susceptible to pests and diseases. But the good news is that prevention is far easier and less work in the long run than trying to cure a problem once it's taken hold. The key to pest and disease prevention is regular monitoring. Get into the habit of inspecting your plants regularly, looking for any signs of trouble, such as discolored leaves, wilting, or unusual growths. Early detection is crucial, as it allows you to take action before a problem becomes widespread. Strong, healthy plants are far more resistant to pests and diseases than weak, stressed ones. Practice good garden hygiene. Remove any fallen leaves or debris, which can harbor pests and diseases. If you do spot signs of pests or diseases, there are a number of organic solutions you can try before resorting to chemical interventions. For example, insecticidal soap is a great way to control aphids and other soft-bodied insects. And there you have it. The top, don't do this. Mistakes that can turn your peaceful garden dream into a time-consuming nightmare. Remember, gardening doesn't have to be complicated. A little research, a bit of regular upkeep, and strategic planning go a long way. So before you start your next garden project, keep these Don't Do This guide tips in mind, and you'll save yourself heaps of trouble down the line. If you found any value in today's video, if any of these tips helped you avoid extra garden chores, hit that like button and consider subscribing to Don't Do This Guide. Share this video with a friend who might be about to embark on a new garden adventure, and let's grow smarter together. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video.